Louis XIV was known as the Sun King during his reign. He was a man of passion, leadership, and sociability, whose masculinity was never called into question, no matter how unconventional it would seem to modern standards of masculinity. To this day, he is the longest reigning monarch in history. However, it is not strength of arms that King Louis XIV is remembered for today, but for how he accomplished his aims. The Sun King's view of his masculinity was much more flexible than what others thought about it in their patriarchal society. He was not intimidated into hiding his interests for fear of them being attacked. Instead, he sought to protect what he cared about and showed his strength in this way. His sophistication and cunning helped him create a persona that would be followed. Louis XIV has been gone for centuries, but still has much to teach about masculinity. Before we begin, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you like to support the channel, please check out the link down below so we can keep spreading this valuable information. The Sun King's masculinity was the kind that did not care for the judgment of others and gained confidence when he was his truest self. This can be seen in the way he would fearlessly pursue what he loved, his passion for the arts, fashion, and culture. Louis XIV is forever remembered for the Golden Century, where France became the most powerful country in Europe because of the unity and consolidation of power he sought to create. Men today should look to be their most authentic self, without any fear. In today's culture, we can see that some of the most successful men, who are looked to for guidance on masculinity, show this similar trait of Louis XIV's in that they are confident in their mission and their actions. Steve Jobs is still looked at as a paragon of leadership for how he ruled Apple with an iron fist. It can be seen in even Elon Musk, who took a risk on his electric car company that has made him one of the wealthiest men in the world. Passion and vision will always overcome those who lack either. The everyday man does not need to be the king of a country or a company to use these qualities to his advantage. Indeed, being the person who has the most passion and a plan to enact is likely the person who will get their way in the end of every situation. King Louis XIV's passion for the arts have not only echoed into modern day and enjoyed even now with the Palace of Versailles, but also gave him a great deal of influence. In modern day, the most influential people in the world are creatives. The music, books, shows, and movies we watch all influence how we empathize with others. They help shape our beliefs. The Sun King is famous for wielding this power of storytelling and branding before it was called that. In the TV show Mad Men, we see the embodiment of another masculine creative in Don Draper, who with his silver tongue is able to dominate every room he enters as he makes a name in the marketing world of America in the 1950s. The truth is, everyone looks up to a confident and creative man. The ability to transmit a message and communicate deeply with people is a powerful skill to possess. Men in today's society have every advantage if they know how to express themselves verbally. The top radio, TV host, and now podcast hosts of the last decade have been spearheaded by a well-spoken man. A great influence of King Louis XIV was his mother, who told him he was chosen by God to lead France into greatness. With that intrinsic belief that he was meant to rule, he went on to achieve unparalleled success. Self-belief is not something that comes easily to people, but that is why it is so valuable. The limits put on oneself are often only in the mind. The man who is able to free himself of it will know no limit. Nobody in modern day embodies this idea more than the American rapper Kanye West, who became a billionaire because he was able to gain a fan base of millions, who dedicate themselves to following his example when it comes to what they listen to, what they wear, where they worship, and more. His blind faith and confidence in his success is often seen as arrogant and foolish. However, his success would cause people to pause, as he has every accolade possible to prove his words right, with the agreement of even the most elite of critics. If he were to say he took a page out of the Sun King's playbook, it would be believable, as the Sun King had many virtues, but humility was not one. King Louis XIV made sure everyone would repeatedly hear of his greatness, that they would all have good things to say about him. How would he do this? He would commission works from countless bards, painters, and artists. His clever mind knew what image he wanted to project and how to do it. The painters would portray him in the visages of Greek gods, of great emperors. He made sure everyone would understand the idea that he was one of them, something more than just a man. In a similar fashion, Kanye would change his name and go by Jesus for years, while he would lead hundreds of people every Sunday in a show of his Christian faith. Men should take note that this desire to be as self-assured as a god or emperor or king is a mindset that can be useful when wanting to accomplish something that seems impossible. Often people who reach great success and originate from humble origins will cite some level of delusion that allows them to take risks to follow their dreams. Self-confidence and selling oneself are important to get ahead. Having great artworks recreated with yourself as the face of them could be seen as impossibly egotistical and odd, but in King Louis's case, these works were not just a mark of arrogance, but of a calculated move to retain his position. In modern and ancient days, it was important to work to keep a high place in society. Creating a narrative was essential in his success. The more he repeated his message, the more people would believe it and continue to believe it centuries later. We still see this storytelling and persuasion in today's media landscape. How else did the former President Donald Trump win his election? He was able to control the way people thought and spoke of him with his constant appearance in the news cycle and in people's consciousness. Louis XIV knew that by spreading word of his great reputation and strength as king, he would be able to stop any conflicts against him before they could truly gain any steam. Many of his enemies were likely defeated before they lifted a sword. Likewise, any modern man would be wise to employ this trick on a smaller level. Instead of creating a narrative for a country to hear and believe, one should try to do this with the narrative they have of their life in their own mind. Rephrase things in a more positive light, reframe events to be able to approach them in healthier ways. This way, one can build a stronger outlook on life on their own. It would assist greatly in changing the internal monologue into something more useful and positive. King Louis was mentored at the feet of Cardinal Mazarin, who was quite the manipulative and politically intelligent man. He raised the king to know how to bend people to his interests. King Louis XIV wanted more than anything to secure his reign and control his nobles, and he would do this by whisking people away into his lavish and entrancing lifestyle in the palace. He presented himself as an aspirational figure in many ways. The king would show his best side when surrounded by his courtiers and then slowly influence them to his ways of thinking. This kind of interplay is seen constantly in the most powerful of businessmen. They will invite their potential clients, investors, business partners, etc., to expensive dinners, to fun vacations, to shows on Broadway, all as a way to soften up the person they need something from. It has worked that way since King Louis's time, and it is not likely to change in this century. Some men might find it irritating or unnecessary social labor, but they would be wrong. It takes more than simple skill to make it to great heights. Socializing is one of the most important aspects of rising in high society. None did it better than the Sun King. Louis XIV has left the world with a new understanding of masculinity. While he has so many of the classic traits one would expect from a kingly man, the leadership, the sociability, and the creativity, he found a way to be all of these things on his own terms and filtered through his own personality. He did not imitate anyone, but was instead true to himself. After all these centuries, we still walk the hall of the Palace of Versailles in awe and enjoy the arts that he so heavily promoted while he still lived. His legacy has endured as the Sun King, and as we march forward, it does not appear he will ever have an equal to his success, nor to take his title as the longest reigning monarch.